My favorite part of a new episode of Hot D is trying to figure out how far in the timeline have we skipped ahead. Is it 1 month? Is it 1 year? Is it 10 years? To figure this out, I have to get my Sherlock Holmes hat on. I've got to, become Batman, the world's greatest detective. Put my detective skills to work to figure it out. There are a few familiar tricks that I'm kind of looking out for each week to figure out how long it has been. Which baby is a child? Which child has turned into a slightly older child, but maybe he looks younger than the previous actor, but now he's older? Which actors have changed that didn't need to change? And why hasn't Matt Smith aged a day? And how disgusting and how much do I not want to look at King Viserys? Because each week he just gets worse and worse. This one was easily the worst though. This was sickening is the polite way to put it. And just to be clear, when I say my favorite thing, it's probably my least favorite. I mean, it's amusing to me, but it's getting to the point where I'm like, I just take a deep breath, Hot D. But this week, Hot D decides to ruin my favorite / least favorite aspect of the show, and immediately, while the screen is still black, no footage yet, we get some dialogue, some clunky expository dialogue. I mean, I really prefer if they were doing it the old way, where it's just like, just guess how long it's been, and maybe half an hour in, we'll be like, it's been 10 years. But this one starts straight off the bat, and she's like, it's been 6 long years! And I'm like, okay, 6 long years, fantastic. It's been 6 years, but now I'm thinking about that, I guess it's 60 years minimum. Maybe it was longer. Regardless, another really big time jump. None of these little couple of months, 6 month, 2 year kind of situations. Another huge 5 to 10 year time jump. So with the minimum 6 year time jump, I mean, it doesn't matter. 6 years, 10 years, who's counting? I'm counting. We get a host of new young kids who are now kind of young adults. And on one hand, most of the casting is pretty good, particularly Eamon, Mr. Eye Patch Boy, just phenomenal actor. Like the whole vibe of him with the scar that's kind of healed, but it's still there. The eye patch, he's really tall now. I love when a character's like, oh, I was small and meek, but now I'm super tall because of puberty. And the long hair, the long, straight, flat hair, just his whole demeanor. Every single second of him was amazing, and that was like a really exciting kind of like, oh, look how he's changed. On the other hand, Aegon looks like he shrunk like 5 inches. Like, it's definitely the hair, but his whole kind of vibe just feels a bit off. He's still like, ooh, I'm party boy Aegon, I don't want to be king. But just the casting there, horrendous. And if you're only going to have the other guy for 2 episodes, I mean, this guy might only be in it for 2 episodes as well. Like, I didn't really feel like I wanted to get attached to any of them either, because I was like, oh, it's so soon. Presumably next week, we'll have a bunch of new characters again. Rhaenyra's, her kids, they're fine. They were fine last time. They were kind of, not as interesting. I feel like Aegon and Aemon, they're the more interesting characters. The other guys, their whole plot is just like, oh, we're bastards and we're sad we're bastards and, oh, we're angry when people tell the truth. Oh, we're mad about that. Oh, I'm going to have a big sook. So I don't find that as compelling, whereas the other two just have kind of more fleshed out characters. I mean, they're barely fleshed out. One's a drunk and one's got an eye patch. But despite really liking Aemon and being like, oh, this character's awesome, I am really annoyed and disappointed that we only got 2 episodes with those other new kids. Like, I feel like episodes 6 and 7 were easily the strongest. I think the new actors of Rhaenyra and Alicent, they're really, really good. But I think it was the kids and their dynamics and having, like, especially Rhaenyra's kids so young, like, so much was happening. I felt like it really, really worked. I think their dynamic was really interesting. And it's just kind of like, I understand if there's really literally nothing else to tell. I guess there's nothing else to tell. But I just feel like you need to sit and breathe with these characters. And more specifically, the actors. And just let them kind of grow into these roles in any way. Like, Game of Thrones is the best example. So I'll just go straight to that. You watch Bran as a little baby boy. And yes, it's weird and bad where he goes to. But up to a certain point, like, up in season 6, it's so cool to see, like, how much he's grown and evolved as this one actor, this one little baby boy. Arya, Sansa, another example. Even Rickon, who had like 4 lines of dialogue in the first couple of seasons, when he comes back, there's such power to that. And I know that they don't want to tell the same story and they're going to probably take over hundreds of years if the pace of the show is, anything to go by, or it's only going to be 2 seasons long. I don't really know how they're doing it, but it just really confuses and annoys me, and I find it really frustrating because Game of Thrones' biggest issue in the final 2 seasons was that it was rushed. It was too rushed. Yes, the writing and this and that, but mainly the big thing, rushed. Daenerys' arc at the end, inevitable, brilliant. Oh no, ruined because rushed. And now they're just like, rush. How did you not learn from the biggest mistake of the greatest show ever that became the worst show ever? That is like the show that made you possible. Like, you're a prequel to that show and you're making the same mistake from the get-go. It blows my mind. I don't understand it, and I find it really disconnecting and just worrisome for the rest of the series. So the king is still alive somehow. I don't understand how he could possibly still be alive. That being said, he is very old and decaying. He's lost his eyes, lost part of his mouth, and he's all like, oh, and it's just sickly and horrible to look at. Fantastic performance, easily his best episode. That actor's like really killing it as like the really old, decrepit king. The best part of the whole episode was when they're doing all the, you know, the farcical kind of like, who will be the next person to reign in that whatever the hell Driftmark? You know, that place where you're like, I guess I'm meant to care, but I don't really care. We're kings of the sea. But they're having a big hullabaloo over all that, and it kind of feels like farcical and silly because it's like, you can clearly see where Allison and like Otto, the Hand of the King, are gonna like side with, so it all just feels like a big farce. But then the farce is ruined when the king does the most epic / hilariously comical / tragic / powerful / a fifth descriptive word, and he comes in and it's brilliant. Ramin Djawadi gives like the second best piece of music since The Prince Was As Promised, that came out in like the first episode, right at the end of that first episode. This is the second time that I've gone, oh, he's back. The song, the music, the score, just like so many emotions, so powerful, so beautiful, heartbreaking, tragic, you know, fifth description word again. Fantastic moment, really, really powerful stumble, walk up the stairs, and then Damon putting the crown on was a nice little touch there. All of that was really, really great. But when he got onto the throne, I had this moment of like, he is so old and decrepit and sickly. Like, is his mind, like they said the milk of the poppy is destroying his mind, but surely he's just going to be like, oh wait, what am I doing here? Oh God. And I'm like, someone that sickly and old. Like if my boss rocked up and looked like that, I wouldn't trust or believe anything he said. Or if he said that, I'd be like, can I speak to another manager? Can I speak to someone else, like higher up? Like, is that someone to like? Because I don't really trust him on the budget this week. Look at him. He's not. I don't want to be rude, but his face is literally like eaten inside. Like, what's his brain like? But no, crazily, he's like all there, and he's like, what is this farcical thingy? I said a thing. We're staying by that. So it was the milk of the poppy. And I really enjoyed that scene and that build up of like, even though as he's walking up, I'm like, is he going to be able to do what he thinks he's going to be able to do when he gets there? And I also had this like really horrible, evil part of my brain that just really wanted him as he was getting up to like stumble and fall on a bunch of the swords. I just think that would have been really funny, and then in the aftermath, I would have felt really sick and horrible, and it just would have been a very Game of Thronesy moment. But no, the king is like, whatever happens, you know, and then the guy's like, no, bastards, blah, 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 does a big speech, Damon chops his head off, and it was very entertaining. A little cheeky NCIS style pun, where he's like, he can keep his tongue, and it's like, ha ha ha, because he somehow chopped it, like, did he plan to chop the head off so that when the body was laying there onto the body, the tongue was still like there? Or did he see that, like he chopped it off and he sees like the tongue there and he's like, ha ha, I've got it. He can keep his tongue. And like later he's having a couple of drinks being like, that worked out so well for me. That was so funny, guy. Like, Rhaenyra, don't you think that was very funny? And she's like, it was pretty gross. Matt Smith, shut up. Then after all the fun, decapitating scenes and throne room shenanigans, we get another soap opera heavy family drama situation where the king's like, everybody sit down. Oh, also, that golden mask thing. Mwah. Oh, looks so good. Maybe the best visual of the whole series so far. I mean, not maybe. Easily the best. The golden mask covering half his face, the hollowed, eaten out part from the disease, and that slow walk up. Just brilliant stuff. But then he's all like, everyone sit around, I want to have a big nice family dinner. And on one hand, I understand why he wants everyone to be like all friends and happy, but it's like, dude, like, he's like, oh, why can't we all be happy? Maybe because you married your daughter's best friend and like the seeds of discontent just began from there. Like everything was fine till you married your daughter's hot friend and then started having sex with her. Like, it's kind of on you, dude. Like, he's like, oh, why can't we all just be friends? Because, I don't know, it kind of infuriates me. Like, he's so, like, good-willed, and he's so, like, oh, it's like he's not an evil Targaryen. But he's just a stupid one. Like, you flip the coin and one might be evil, but the other one might just be stupid. And stupid as a king, and too nice. Like, he thinks he's being friendly and nice, but in fact, that's, like, not what anyone needed. I don't know, though. That just might be my opinion. Well, I mean, it's definitely just my opinion. But I wonder if people disagree or agree with that kind of notion of how the king has been you know, how he's handled everything over this time. And I understand now that he's very senile and he's getting a bit of a Theoden kind of situation, and like, you know, the Hand of the King's worm-tonguing him with some milk of the poppy and kind of, you know, being in control there. So right now they're clearly kind of, you know, manipulating him. But from the get-go, I just don't feel like he's done everything he could to stop these seeds of discontent and, you know, malice and hatred between these two opposing factions. I feel like he's just kind of let it fester and then gone, oh, don't be angry. Do more than just say that every 6 years. But who knows? Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe people are like, no, he's the greatest king ever. But he's not. He's clearly not the best king. The best king is clearly Bran. I mean, why do you think he came all this way? Thanks for watching, guys. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and comment below. I'd love to know what everyone thought of the newest episode of Hot Take.